So, Kat, being the national person here, there are how many? Maybe not quite yet 1 million blogs, but maybe getting close.
20 bazillion.
But I mean, that's a lot of noise. How do you like to be approached by bloggers?
Twitter is a great way to get on our radar because we're moving at 1 million miles an hour, and as much as we would love to look at everybody's blog all day long, sadly that's not a reality. We definitely have our favorites that we look at, but it takes is @replying us on Twitter. It pops up in that column on our tweet deck, and we think, oh, okay, we should go and check that out. And I've ended up using plenty of those. We have a feature every day called Box Lunch, which is my colleague Sarah LaTrent curates that. And it's exciting stories from national press and things, but we always try to include at least 1 or 2 bloggers in there who have just posted something that we think is particularly noteworthy. And it ends up having a really pretty great effect on their traffic. Or somebody replied us the other day saying, read my wife's post. And I said, okay then. And I ended up referring to her in a post that I was writing about cooking mistakes. So sometimes it'll touch off something, and we give credit to where the original idea came from, and link over and everything like that. But that's really just the easiest way possible. I'm a Twitter addict, so you can always do @Etocracy or @KittenWithAWhip, and just send something really interesting and put it on my radar. I mean, that's how I found this nice man. He, it helps if you really have some sort of thing you consistently do. If you don't follow him during Top Chef, you really, really, really need to. He is the best live tweeter out there for that kind of stuff. And I sort of thought, who is this guy?
That's really something to brag about, isn't it?
He's so good. There was actually.
I'm just going to get an L and a T and just wear it every day. Lawrence Taylor? No, live tweeter.
Well, there was actually one chef in Atlanta who tweets as the Angry Chef. And I was so amused because he would sort of live tweet brunch and all the patrons who annoyed him during brunch. And I thought that was brilliant. So I included that in a roundup once. And then we ended up doing a feature with him. And out of that feature, he got a column in Creative Loafing Atlanta and has really made a name for himself, all because he was awesome on Twitter. Mm-hmm. So you do not discount that at all.
If there are any Twitter doubters in the room, I got my eye on you.
And actually, with Twitter, my colleague Sarah LaTrent, I met her on Twitter when she was in college. She won Dana Cowan's Twitter contest for the Best New Chefs. The winner won 2 tickets to the Best New Chefs this was back in 2009, but not tickets to the event to New York. She paid her own way. She was still in college. Showed up at the party. I was working at Slash Food at the time. Said Slash Food will be wearing a green and black dress. Come say hi. She did. She gave me her card. I was thinking, college kid with a card. Oh my God. And she kept in touch with me because she was classy and graceful and fantastic on Twitter. And so we credit that entire relationship. And now she's been working with me for 2 years. We worked together at AOL and Slash Food, and now she's with me at Etocracy, all because she was awesome on Twitter.
So when or if or when would you like to get a press release? This is for all of you, from a blogger. Or have you ever gotten one?
From a blogger?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
And it was appropriate. I liked it.
I think it depends on the pitch.
Yeah.
If you're just sending me something that says, hey, I'm here, just want you to know about me, that's fine. If you're sending me something that is so unbelievably specific, it basically is already trying to write the story for itself, give me a little bit of creativity room. I like to find out where these people are. To be honest with you, I'd rather find out through Twitter. It's direct. Establish a rapport with me. And that goes whether you're a blogger or whether you're a PR side. I can't tell you how many times I've established relationships through people in PR who understood that, yes, I might write about their thing, but if you show me other great things, we'll have a relationship. I'll establish some credibility with you. You'll establish it with me. And it'll be a long-term relationship instead of a one-hit, hey, write about my product kind of thing.
And we will go back and look at the rest of the feed too to see if you're consistently awesome.
Absolutely.
And that you're nice.
And right, not snarky.
Yeah, or funny.
Except when you're live tweeting Top Chef.
Well, I'm not a nice person. I'm sorry.
No, there's a time and place for snark. But I can't tell you how many people I will see. In LA, making fun of the LA Times can be a part-time job for some people, and people will rip into the paper for several tweets and then expect me to retweet something else. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I mean, that's just, you're
We are.
insulting me.
There's a huge
We're
amount of mutual
humans.
respect. Like, I can't tell you how much it means when a blogger tells me that they read the paper, and especially if they start taking the paper after they met me, then you're my favorite person. But, you know, because we try really hard to put out these sections, and because we're not just bloggers. I mean, all of us have blogs, but we have these sections that we're putting out that we're really proud of. And when you give us love, you know, we're much likely to, you know, give it back. So.
You know, the other thing I would mention too is that it helps if you know what we need and
So what do you
and where we're
need?
weakest at. Well, you know, I do stories every week in the flavor section. I do, you know, blog, you know, infrequently, but I blog. I have a podcast. I do Twitter. I do Facebook. All this stuff. If you understand the different ways that you can access the Tribune through me and through the various media that I use, that's going to help your cause immensely. And if you see a weak point, not necessarily say, you know, point and go, ha ha, but, you know, say, listen, I see you have a gap here. I'd like to be able to provide something that'll fill that gap. Knowing the material and knowing the formats and knowing the media when you're approaching me is massive because it shows you took 30 seconds. You know, that's 30 seconds more than most people do. Most people are like, just publicize me, just write about me, just include me, you know. And it was like, you know, act like you know exactly what it is you want, and we'll have a better time about it.
And when you can sort of give us, you know, be our sources out in the field. I mean, for instance, I live in South Austin. That means I don't get up to Round Rock or, you know, these outlying areas as much as I'd like. But if you live there and there's a new restaurant that's opened or there's some interesting, you know, cookie swap that's happening in your neighborhood that I would never know about, to drop me a line and say, hey, this cool thing is happening. It doesn't benefit you directly, but in the long run, it will benefit you.
And for us, we put out solicitations to people. We have some ongoing features, and if you drop a link to your blog in the comments, we're going to read it. I've started this feature, the Vintage Recipe Vault, where I post something from, you know, the last century. In cookbooks, usually they involve some manner of gelatin, and say, hey guys, you want to try to make this at home? And people really take that as a challenge and make the recipe at home, blog about it. And then, you know, I might excerpt their photo or something, but I write a whole, you know, a passage about everybody who entered. They don't have, you know, it doesn't even have to be the best entry in the world or anything. I'm just so thrilled that they came to play with us and left something in the comments that, boom, featured. Great. Maybe I might have to be a little bit, you know, more curatorial about that once more people start doing it. But for right now, one of our headline stories on the site right now is a blogger who took that up as her blog is The Stripper Housewife. And she's a burlesque performer who also really enjoys doing stuff with Jell-O. And, and her name is Peekaboo Point, and she's fantastic. And so if you go to Etocracy right now, she's right up there at the top, and it makes some sort of pun about jiggly bits or something like that. But, you know, I had sort of known her otherwise, but she came and she put a link in the comments, and boom, there you go.
I mean, people are always looking for some kind of interaction. You all know what it's like to write a blog posting and have no one comment on it, or have a poll and have like one person take the poll. So when you see those elements on a page, we're asking for some kind of feedback. I mean, we're asking for people to try the recipe and upload a photo and tell us whether they loved it or hated it. So we're looking for those opportunities. So that's your shot to take it.
And I think sometimes there might be bloggers who are more active in their community, and you have an unengaged food writer or food editor that's maybe out there on Twitter who maybe, I don't know, maybe nobody knows because they just sort of sit behind their desk all day. Take the effort to invite them to something. So if you're having a blogger potluck and you have never met anybody from the food staff at your local paper, and we're talking about papers here, but this could be television stations, this could be magazines, anything. And just invite them, because I think sometimes they're more shy than they would like for everybody to know, and they feel like, especially if a blogger community is already kind of galvanizing itself, and they might feel like an outsider, maybe because they just started blogging. I mean, I know that there are many people here who've been blogging far longer than I have, and it was really intimidating when I first started, and that's sort of what made me initially start reaching out to you in the first place. So
that's a great idea, because even if they can't make the event, you've made a genuine personal contact, and I can guarantee you that person is going to go look at your blog and just check it out. And you made a point earlier that even if you're promoting something that doesn't personally help you, it creates more of a relationship and makes you more what's the word I'm looking for? It validates what you're doing. You start to become more of a trusted source.
Can I
And
give you a perfect
blog-
example of that?
Yeah.
Okay. About 4 or 5 years ago, these people, Greg and Michelle Baker, sent me an email and said, hey, we like what you're writing about, blah, blah, blah. And they literally said blah, blah, blah. And they said, anytime you need someone to show you around sort of the funkier places, not on the map, we'd be happy to go with you. Now, they were bloggers. They didn't pitch themselves as bloggers. They pitched themselves as food lovers. I said, yeah. That'd be great. I'd always wanted a culinary Sherpa, So we went around and we did this thing where we ate at about 8 different places in one day, and we wrote about it, and it became something called the Tampa Underbelly Tour. And it was a huge hit. And then we did it again and again. And then they changed the name of their blog to the Culinary Sherpas, which was cool. I've never named anything before. Well, my son. Anyway, so the Sherpas eventually wound up writing recipes for us. They did a column in the Tribune, and then they opened up a restaurant, and then they just got nominated for a Beard Award for Restaurant of the Year. That is a blogging success story, people. Okay, all because of an email, a personal email that says, "Hey, let's go find food. We'll see if we like it. We don't like it. Whatever." It wasn't by design or anything like that. They were personal chefs at the time. They didn't really have a stake in anything. That can happen. I'm not saying it will, but it can if you come at it from a genuine place.
And CNN has another version of this too, because do you all know about CNN iReport? It's this tremendous thing where we reach out to community. Absolutely anybody can participate. We put out assignments, and people can feed their stories, their videos, their pictures, and it often gets put on TV, and we use it all throughout the whole network. Now that's just an invitation right there waiting to happen, and here at South by Southwest, there's actually the iReporter of the Year awards that are happening. So we really, really pay attention to them. If somebody has put up a really interesting cooking video, if somebody has, we often put out food-related solicitations, like, finish this sentence. It's not the holidays at my house without ... And we ended up, several times a week during the holiday season, focusing on one of those iReporters who'd shared their family tradition. The question we always ask at Etocracy of anybody who's, throughout the company who's working with this is, what is the story that only you can tell? And iReport is an absolutely fantastic way to do that, and it gets on our radar. So long as you use the little tag Etocracy or respond directly to one of our assignments. It's also a really great way to get on our radar, and if we don't pick it up, the iReport team happens to note it, and they send us pretty much anything that's food related. So that's just another great inroad, and some of the stuff has ended up on national television.